The flight attendant's hand slammed into his chest, shoving him backward into the aisle. "I said, get out of this seat, now." Admiral Marcus Thompson. 28 years of military service. 4,000 combat flight hours. Single father to twin daughters, stood frozen as 187 passengers watched a woman half his age push him like a criminal. His silver star meant nothing here. His distinguished flying cross meant nothing. His dark skin had already told her everything she needed to know. What Diana Crawford didn't realize in exactly 9 minutes, both pilots would collapse. The plane would start falling. And the only person who could save her life was the man she was throwing off this aircraft. Comment your city below. I want to see how far this story travels. Marcus Thompson hadn't slept in 31 hours. The red-eye from Naval Air Station North Island had been delayed twice. A mechanical issue first, then weather rolling through the Midwest. He'd spent 4 hours in the San Diego terminal watching the departure board flicker and change, calling his mother every hour to update her. "The girls keep asking when Daddy's coming," she'd said during the last call. "They've got the birthday decorations all set up." Maya made a banner that says, "Happy birthday to us and welcome home Daddy," all in one line. She ran out of paper. Marcus had laughed the first real laugh in weeks. "Tell them I'm coming. No matter what, I'm coming." That was 6 hours ago. Now he stood in the jet bridge at Dallas-Fort Worth International Airport, boarding pass in hand, garment bag over his shoulder. His dress blues were pressed sharp enough to cut glass. Every ribbon on his chest had been earned in blood, sweat, or fire, most of them all three. Rear Admiral Marcus Thompson. 31 years old when he'd married the love of his life. 36 when she'd given him twin daughters. 42 when cancer had taken her away, leaving him to raise 2 girls alone while commanding a naval aviation squadron. Today was Maya and Michelle's 10th birthday, the first one without their mother. He was going to make it. He had to make it. "Welcome aboard, sir." The gate agent smiled as she scanned his boarding pass. "First class seat 2B, straight ahead on your left." Marcus nodded his thanks and stepped onto the aircraft. The first-class cabin was half full. Business travelers, mostly faces buried in laptops and phones. A woman in 1A glanced up as he passed, then looked away. A man in 3C didn't look up at all. Seat 2B, window seat, his seat. Marcus stored his garment bag in the overhead compartment, settled into the leather seat, and pulled out his phone. One more call before they made him turn it off. "Daddy?" Maya's voice was breathless with excitement. "Hey, baby girl. I'm on the plane. I'll be there in 3 hours." 3 hours? That's forever. It'll go fast. You and your sister finish setting up okay? I want to see that banner you made. It's the best banner ever, Daddy. Michelle tried to add glitter, but Grandma said no because last time we were finding glitter in the carpet for 6 months. I remember. Marcus smiled. "I love you, baby. Put your sister on." A shuffle, then Michelle's voice quieter than her twin, always thinking, before she spoke. "Hi, Daddy." "Hi, sweetheart. You being good for Grandma?" "Yes, sir. Daddy, are you really coming this time?" The question hit him somewhere deep. He'd missed too many things this year. School plays, soccer games, bedtime stories. The Navy didn't stop for grieving widowers, and neither did the world. "I'm really coming," he said. "Nothing's going to stop me. Promise? I promise." He ended the call as the flight attendants began their final boarding announcements. A businessman slid into 2A beside him, nodded a brief greeting, and immediately opened his laptop. Marcus leaned back and closed his eyes. 3 hours. Just 3 more hours. He didn't see the flight attendant approaching until her shadow fell across his face. "Excuse me?" Marcus opened his eyes. She was mid-30s, blonde hair pulled back and a severe bun smile that didn't quite reach her eyes. Her name tag read Diana Crawford, lead flight attendant. "Yes. I'm going to need to see your boarding pass." Marcus pulled up the pass on his phone, held it out. "Seat 2B, right here." Diana didn't take the phone. She barely glanced at it. Her eyes were moving over him instead, his ribbons, his rank insignia, his face. And your ID, my ID, military ID, to verify your status. Something cold settled in Marcus's stomach. He'd felt this before, more times than he could count. The look, the tone, the assumption hiding behind polite words. He pulled out his military ID and handed it to her. Diana studied it for a long moment. Too long. Then she looked at his chest, at the rows of ribbons there. "These are quite impressive," she said. "Where did you get them?" "Excuse me." "The ribbons. Where did you get them?" "I earned them. Over 28 years of service to the United States Navy." Diana handed back his ID. Her smile had turned into something else, something sharp and cold. "The thing is, sir, we've had problems lately. People buying fake uniforms online, claiming military status for upgrades they didn't pay for." Marcus felt his jaw tighten. "I paid for this ticket myself, 3 weeks ago, first class, seat 2B. "That may be what your ticket says." "That's what my ticket says because that's what I bought." Diana's eyes narrowed. "Sir, I'm going to need you to lower your voice." "I haven't raised my voice." "Your tone is aggressive and it's making other passengers uncomfortable." Marcus looked around. The businessman in 2A was studiously ignoring them both. A woman across the aisle had her phone out, not quite pointing at them, but not quite pointing away either. "Ma'am," Marcus said, keeping his voice deliberately calm. "My name is Rear Admiral Marcus Thompson. I am a naval aviator with over 4,000 flight hours. I am traveling home to see my daughters on their birthday. My ticket is valid, my ID is valid, and I would appreciate it if you would let me sit in peace." Diana's smile didn't waver. "Admiral, that's quite a rank." "It's my rank." "And those ribbons let me see. Is that a silver star?" "Yes." "And that one the cross. Distinguished Flying Cross." "Impressive." Diana leaned closer, lowering her voice to something that was meant to sound confidential, but carried clearly to the nearby passengers. "Here's the thing. I've been doing this job for 15 years. I know what real military personnel look like. I know how they carry themselves. And something about you just doesn't add up." Marcus stared at her. "What exactly doesn't add up?" "I can't put my finger on it. Call it instinct." Diana straightened. "I'm going to ask you to move to economy class. We have a seat available in row 34. "I'm not moving." "Sir, I paid for this seat. I have a valid ticket. I have valid ID. I am not moving." Diana's expression hardened. "Then I'm going to have to call security." "Call whoever you want. I'm not moving from my seat." She reached for the radio on her hip. The businessman in 2A finally spoke up. "Miss, I saw him board. His ticket said first class. I don't think—" "Sir, I need you to stay out of this." Diana's voice was ice. "This doesn't concern you." "It concerns me if you're harassing a passenger for no reason." "I'm not harassing anyone. I'm ensuring the safety and security of this aircraft." Diana keyed her radio. "Security, this is Flight 2156. I need immediate assistance in first class. Passenger refusing to comply with crew instructions." Marcus felt his hands start to shake. Not from fear, from rage. 28 years he'd served this country. He'd flown combat missions over Iraq. He'd buried friends. He'd held his wife's hand as she took her last breath, and then put on his uniform the next morning because that's what duty demanded. And now, a flight attendant was calling security on him, because she didn't believe a black man could afford first class. A young woman in row 4 stood up, phone clearly recording. "This is discrimination. He has a valid ticket. You're harassing him because he's black. Ma'am, sit down or you'll be removed as well." "I'm not sitting down. The whole internet is going to see this." "That's your choice." Diana's radio crackled. "Security is on their way. Sir, I'm asking you one final time. My name is Rear Admiral Marcus Thompson." His voice was steady, but something in it had changed. Something that had faced enemy fire and come out the other side. I will not be moved from my seat. I will not be treated like a criminal. And when this is over, I will be filing a formal complaint with your airline, the FAA, and my congressional representative. Diana's smile turned sharp as broken glass. File whatever you want. You're not flying on my aircraft. 2 airport security officers appeared at the front of first class. Marcus recognized the look on their faces, the assumption, the judgment. The certainty that the black man must be the problem. Sir, we're going to need you to come with us. Marcus didn't stand. Officers, my name is Rear Admiral Marcus Thompson. I'm a naval aviator with the United States Navy traveling on official leave. My ticket is for seat 2B first class. This flight attendant has accused me of fraud and impersonating military personnel. I have done nothing wrong. The officers exchanged glances. Sir, can we see some ID? Marcus handed over his military ID again. His orders, his boarding pass. The taller officer studied the documents. His expression shifted slightly. This says Rear Admiral. That's correct? As in, the Navy. United States Navy. I've been in service for 28 years. Diana scoffed. Anyone can fake military ID. Officers, I know what I saw. This man boarded with a suspicious ticket, and when I questioned him, he became aggressive. I was not aggressive. See, he's interrupting me. He's been combative since I approached him. I don't feel safe with him on this aircraft. He needs to be removed. The taller officer looked uncomfortable. Admiral, do you have any other documentation? Marcus pulled out his phone, scrolled to his official Navy email, showed them his orders, his service record, his commander's contact information. I can wait while you verify everything, he said. Call my commanding officer. Call the Pentagon. Call whoever you need to call, but I am who I say I am, and I have done nothing wrong. The officer showed the documentation to Diana. Ma'am, his credentials appear to be in order. Appear to be? Diana's voice was poison wrapped in silk. That's exactly my point. They appear legitimate, but I have serious concerns. And as lead flight attendant, I have the authority to deny boarding to any passenger I deem a safety risk. A safety risk? Marcus stood now not aggressively, but with the controlled precision of a man who had commanded hundreds of personnel. I have been sitting quietly in my seat. I have shown you every document you've asked for. The only person being disruptive on this aircraft is you. Officers, you saw that. He's threatening me. I'm stating facts. He's aggressive and hostile. I want him removed. Now. The shorter officer reached for Marcus's arm. Sir, we're going to need you to come with us. Marcus looked at the hand on his arm, looked at the officer's face, looked at Diana Crawford's satisfied smile. He thought about his daughters waiting at home. Maya with her banner. Michelle with her quiet questions. Are you really coming this time, Daddy? He thought about the scene this would become if he resisted. The phone's recording. The headlines tomorrow. Black man arrested on airplane. No mention of his rank. No mention of his service. Just another black man who didn't know his place. I'll go, Marcus said quietly. But I want this documented. I want her name, your names, and I want a formal complaint filed with the airline. You can file whatever you want, Diana said sweetly. But you're not flying on this aircraft. Marcus pulled his garment bag from the overhead compartment. Walked down the aisle, every eye on him, every phone recording his humiliation. His chest full of ribbons that meant nothing. His years of service that meant nothing. His dignity stripped away because one woman decided he didn't belong. As he passed row 4, the young woman who had been recording whispered, I got all of it. If you need a witness. Thank you. His voice was thick. I appreciate that. Behind him, Diana Crawford's voice came over the PA, bright and cheerful. Sorry for that little delay, folks. We'll be pushing back shortly. Flight attendants prepare for departure. In the jet bridge, the security officers walked Marcus back to the terminal. The taller one stopped once they were away from the aircraft. Admiral, for what it's worth, I believe you. Marcus said nothing. My brother's Air Force. I know the real thing when I see it. That flight attendant. He shook his head. She's got a history, complaints going back years, but nothing ever sticks. Why not? Airline protects her, 15 years of service. Her word against passengers, you know how it goes. Yeah. Marcus knew how it went. He'd known how it went his entire life. There's another flight in 2 hours, the officer said. I can make sure you get on it, first class, no hassles. Thank you. Marcus found a seat at the gate, pulled out his phone, stared at it for a long moment before dialing. Daddy! Maya's voice still excited. Are you in the air? Are you coming? Baby girl? His voice broke. Daddy's going to be a little late. How late? A few more hours. There was a problem with my flight. Silence. Then smaller. You promised Daddy. I know, baby. I know. I'm so sorry. I'm getting on another plane as soon as I can. I'm still coming. I promise. You said nothing would stop you. Marcus closed his eyes, felt the hot sting of tears he refused to let fall. I'm coming, Maya. Tell your sister. Tell Grandma. I'm coming home. He ended the call and sat alone in the terminal watching through the window as Flight 2156 pushed back from the gate. The plane that should have carried him home. The plane that had rejected him because of the color of his skin. He didn't know, couldn't possibly know that in 7 minutes, everything on that aircraft would go catastrophically wrong. That both pilots would collapse at their controls. That 187 people would be trapped in a metal tube hurtling through the sky with no one to fly it. That the flight attendant who had thrown him off would be on her knees begging for someone, anyone to save them. And that the only person who could answer that prayer was sitting in a terminal chair, wiping tears from his eyes, trying to figure out how to explain to his daughters why Daddy had broken his promise again. Marcus Thompson didn't know any of that yet, but he was about to find out. The first thing Captain Robert Hayes noticed was the sweat. It was running down his forehead, dripping into his eyes, even though the cockpit temperature was perfectly normal. He wiped it away with the back of his hand and tried to focus on the instrument panel. You okay? First Officer Jennifer Martinez glanced over at him. Yeah, just warm. They have the heat cranked in here. It's 70 degrees, Rob. Is it? He blinked. The numbers on the altimeter seemed to blur, then sharpen, then blur again. That's weird. They were passing through 10,000 feet, climbing toward their cruising altitude of 35,000. Standard departure from DFW. Robert had flown this route 100 times. So why couldn't he remember the next step in the checklist? Rob? Jennifer's voice sounded strange, distant. Rob, something's wrong. He turned to look at her. Her face was pale, sheened with sweat. Her hands were trembling on the control yoke. I feel it too, he said. His tongue felt thick, clumsy. Radio tower. Tell them we need to return to Dallas. Jennifer reached for the radio. Her fingers closed around the mic, and then her hand spasmed and the mic clattered to the floor. Rob! Her voice was panicked now. I can't move my hands right. Something's really wrong. Robert tried to respond. Tried to tell her to stay calm, that they would figure this out, that they'd been trained for emergencies. But the words wouldn't come. The cockpit spun around him. The instruments blurred into meaningless shapes. He felt his body slump forward against the control yoke. The last thing he heard before consciousness slipped away was Jennifer's voice screaming for help. And then there was only darkness. In the first-class cabin, Diana Crawford was serving drinks when she noticed the teenager in seat 8B. He was slumped against the window, completely still. At first, she thought he was sleeping. Teenagers always slept on flights, but something about the angle of his head made her pause. Honey. She touched his shoulder. You okay? No response. She checked his pulse. Fast. Irregular. His forehead was burning hot. Is anyone here a doctor? Diana called out, keeping her voice professionally calm. We have a passenger who needs assistance. A man in row 12 raised his hand. Physician's assistant, let me take a look. He examined the boy quickly, his expression growing more concerned by the second. Fever, confusion, tremors. When did this start? I don't know. I just noticed. The PA's eyes went wide. He grabbed the seat back to steady himself. I don't feel good. Then a woman in row 2 vomited into her lap. Then a man in row 5 collapsed in the aisle. Then Diana felt it, the wave of nausea, the sudden spike of fever, the sweat breaking out across her skin. Something was very, very wrong. She stumbled toward the cockpit, fighting the dizziness that threatened to overwhelm her. Captain Hayes! Captain! We have a medical emergency in the cabin. Multiple passengers are... The cockpit door opened. Jennifer Martinez fell through it, barely catching herself on the doorframe. Her face was gray. Her eyes couldn't focus. Both pilots are down? She gasped. Captain's unconscious. I can barely see. Something's happening to us. She collapsed. Diana caught her, eased her into the nearest seat. Her training screamed at her, stay calm, assess the situation, take control. She grabbed the PA microphone. Ladies and gentlemen, this is your lead flight attendant. She could hear the tremor in her own voice and hated it. We have an emergency situation. Is there anyone on board with flight experience? We need assistance in the cockpit immediately. Silence. She tried again, desperation cracking through her professional facade. Please, this is not a drill. Both pilots are incapacitated. We need someone who can fly this aircraft. Anyone with any flight experience, please come to the cockpit now. Nothing. The cabin erupted, passengers crying, screaming, calling loved ones. A woman 3 rows back was praying out loud. A man was trying to open the emergency exit at 12,000 feet. Everyone stay calm, Diana shouted. Stay in your seats. We're going to what? She looked at the cockpit door, at the unconscious pilot in the passenger seat, at the empty left seat where Captain Hayes should have been in control, and she realized with horror that cut through even the fever clouding her mind that there was no one to fly this plane, no one except her, Diana Crawford, who had never touched a control yoke in her life. Diana Crawford, who had just thrown the only qualified pilot off this aircraft. She made her way to the cockpit on legs that could barely hold her weight. Fell into the captain's seat. Stared at the bewildering array of instruments, switches, screens. She had no idea what any of it meant. The radio crackled. American 2156, this is Dallas-Fort Worth approach. We're showing you level at 12,000 heading 214. Confirm your status. Diana grabbed the mic with shaking hands. Tower, this is American 2156. Her voice was slurring. She could feel herself fading. Both pilots are incapacitated. Multiple passengers are sick. We have a medical emergency. We need help. Please, we need help. A pause. Then the voice on the other end, carefully controlled. 2146 copy. Understand both pilots incapacitated. What are your symptoms? Fever, tremors, confusion. My vision's blurry. I think it's spreading through the whole plane. I don't know what's happening. I don't know what to do. Please, you have to help us. 2156, is there anyone on board who can fly the aircraft? Diana thought about the passengers behind her. Businessmen, families, a teenage boy who might already be dying, old people and young people, and people who just wanted to get home. And she thought about the man she'd thrown off this plane. The man in the Navy uniform with all those ribbons. The man who'd said he was a pilot. The man she hadn't believed because she'd looked at his face and seen only what she expected to see. No, she whispered into the radio. There's no one. 2156, maintain current heading. We're clearing all airspace. Emergency crews are standing by. We're going to talk you through an emergency landing. Can you see the controls? Diana looked at the cockpit panel. Hundreds of buttons, dozens of screens, levers and knobs and instruments she couldn't even name. Yes, but I don't know what any of it means. I don't know how to fly a plane. Please, you have to send someone. You have to. 2-1-56. We need you to stay calm. We have pilots here who can guide you through every step. You can do this. But she couldn't. She knew she couldn't. She was a flight attendant, not a pilot. She served drinks and demonstrated seatbelts and smiled at passengers who treated her like furniture. She didn't save lives. She didn't land planes. She threw innocent men off aircraft because they didn't look like they belonged in first class. The fever was getting worse. Her vision was narrowing. She had maybe 10 minutes before she was as incapacitated as the pilots. 10 minutes to learn how to land a Boeing 737. 10 minutes to save 187 lives. 10 minutes to undo the worst mistake she'd ever made. Diana Crawford gripped the control yoke with trembling hands and started to pray. She didn't know that 6 miles away, sitting in a terminal gate, the answer to her prayer was, watching emergency vehicles race across the tarmac. She didn't know that Rear Admiral Marcus Thompson had already heard the announcement about Flight 2156. She didn't know that he was running toward the tower at that very moment, military ID in hand, demanding access. She didn't know that the man she'd humiliated, accused, and ejected was about to become the only thing standing between her and death. But she was about to find out. Marcus heard the emergency call before he understood what it meant. He was still sitting at the gate phone in his hand, trying to compose a text to his mother that would explain what had happened without using words like racist or humiliated or thrown off like a criminal. The girls didn't need to know. Not today. Not on their birthday. Then the gate agent's radio squawked loud enough that Marcus caught fragments through the terminal noise. Flight 2156. Both pilots. Emergency return to DFW. His head snapped up. Flight 2156. The flight he'd just been removed from. The flight that was supposed to carry him home to his daughters. The gate agent was already running to her desk, grabbing phones, making calls. Her face had gone pale. Marcus stood and walked toward her, his military training overriding everything else, the exhaustion, the humiliation, the anger still burning in his chest. What's happening? Sir, I can't discuss. I'm a Rear Admiral and a naval aviator with over 4,000 flight hours. That was my flight. What is happening? The gate agent looked at him, really looked at him, and something in his face must have told her this wasn't a man to argue with. Both pilots are sick, she said, her voice barely above a whisper. They're trying to get a flight attendant to land the plane, but she's getting sick too. It sounds like some kind of contamination, carbon monoxide maybe, or toxic fumes. It's spreading through the whole aircraft. Marcus felt the blood drain from his face. How many people on board? 187 passengers and crew. How far out are they? Maybe 20 miles. They're turning back now, but... She shook her head. No one can fly the plane. The flight attendant doesn't know what she's doing. They're going to crash. No. The word exploded in Marcus's mind with the force of a bomb. Those people were going to die. 187 innocent people who had done nothing wrong. Families, children, people who were just trying to get home to the ones they loved just like he was. And the only reason he wasn't on that plane, the only reason he wasn't incapacitated along with everyone else, was because a racist flight attendant had thrown him off. I need to talk to the tower, Marcus said. Right now. Sir, I can't just... He pulled out his military ID and held it in front of her face. I am a qualified pilot on multiple aircraft, including the Boeing 737. I can talk them through an emergency landing. Get me to the tower or those people are going to die. Do you understand me? They are going to die. The gate agent grabbed her radio. Security, I need immediate escort for a Rear Admiral to the control tower. Emergency assistance for Flight 2156. Copy that. Sending someone now. The same two security officers who had escorted Marcus off the plane came running through the terminal. The taller one's eyes widened when he saw Marcus. Admiral, we need to move. Fast. They ran. Through the terminal passed startled passengers around luggage carts and families and businessmen who jumped out of their way. Marcus's legs burned 31 hours without sleep, the emotional toll of the last hour. But he pushed through it. Pain was temporary. Death was permanent. 187 people. He could save 187 people, if he got there in time. The control tower elevator seemed to take forever. Marcus counted the seconds, calculated the distance, ran scenarios in his head. A 737 on autopilot could maintain altitude and heading indefinitely, but if the autopilot failed, or if someone accidentally disconnected it... The doors opened. Marcus burst through into the tower. The air traffic controllers looked up, a room full of tense faces and flickering screens and the quiet hum of controlled panic. One controller was hunched over a radio, speaking in the calm, measured tones that Marcus recognized from his years of military communications. 2156, maintain current heading. We're clearing all airspace. Can you confirm you have visual on the instruments? The response that came through was barely coherent. A woman's voice, slurred and frightened. I can see them, but I don't know what any of it means. Please, you have to help me. Who are you? The lead controller turned to face Marcus. This is a restricted area. Rear Admiral Marcus Thompson, United States Navy. Marcus was already moving toward the radio station. I'm a pilot. I was supposed to be on Flight 2156 until I was removed by a flight attendant. I'm qualified on the 737. I can help. The controller's expression flooded with relief. Thank God. We're trying to walk her through the controls, but she's deteriorating fast. She doesn't know anything about flying. We've got maybe 10 minutes before she loses consciousness. What's her current status? 12,000 feet, heading 214, autopilot engaged, but she doesn't know how to use it. One wrong button and... Marcus nodded. He'd seen it before in training and simulations in the nightmares that sometimes came after combat missions. A plane without a pilot was a bomb with a countdown. Give me the headset. The controller handed it over without hesitation. Marcus took a breath, steadied himself, let 28 years of training settle into his bones. Flight 2156, this is Admiral Marcus Thompson. I'm a naval aviator with the United States Navy, and I'm here to help you land this aircraft safely. Who am I speaking with? Silence on the other end, then static. Then a voice that Marcus recognized with a jolt that ran down his spine. This is Diana Crawford. I'm the lead flight attendant. Diana Crawford, the woman who had shoved him in the chest, the woman who had called his medals costume, the woman who had looked at his face and seen nothing but the color of his skin, the woman who had humiliated him in front of 187 passengers and thrown him off the aircraft like garbage. That woman. Marcus closed his eyes. He could hear her breathing through the radio, ragged, panicked, the sound of someone who knew they were about to die. Behind her, he could hear other sounds. Crying. Moaning. Someone praying in Spanish. The chaos of 187 people who had been healthy an hour ago and were now fighting for their lives. He had a choice. He could walk away. He could hand the headset back to the controller and let someone else try to save the plane. He owed Diana Crawford nothing less than nothing. She had taken his dignity, his peace, his promise to his daughters. She deserved whatever happened to her. But the others, the families, the children, the elderly couple who'd smiled at him as he boarded, the young woman in row 4 who'd recorded his humiliation and promised to be a witness, the teenage boy in 8B who was probably someone's son, someone's brother, someone's whole world. They didn't deserve to die for Diana Crawford's sins. And neither did Marcus Thompson deserve to become the kind of man who let them. He opened his eyes. Diana, he said, his voice steady as steel. I need you to listen to me very carefully. I know you're scared. I know you're sick. But I'm going to get you through this. Do you trust me? A sob came through the radio. Then, very quietly, you're the Admiral. The one I... Yes. Oh God, Oh God, I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry. I never meant. Diana. Marcus cut through her panic. We don't have time for that right now. Right now, I need you to focus on my voice. Can you do that? I can't. There are so many people on this plane. I know. And we're going to save them. You and me, together. But I need you to trust me. Can you do that? Silence. Then smaller than before. Yes. Yes, I trust you. Good. Now tell me, how are you feeling? Can you see the instruments? Barely. Everything's blurry. I'm so hot. I keep sweating through my uniform and my hands won't stop shaking. I think I'm going to pass out. You're not going to pass out. You're going to focus on my voice and do exactly what I tell you. Is there anyone else in the cockpit with you? The captain's here, but he's unconscious. He's slumped over the steering thing, the wheel. The control yoke. Is he touching it? Is his weight on it? Maybe a little. I need you to gently move him back in his seat. Can you do that? Don't disconnect his seatbelt, just ease him away from the controls. Rustling sounds, a grunt of effort, then, okay, he's back. He's not touching it anymore. Good, you're doing great. Now look at the autopilot panel. It should be in the center above the main instruments. There's a button or a light that says AP or autopilot. Tell me if it's engaged. More rustling. I see it. It says AP, and there's a green light. Is the light on? Yes. Perfect. That means the plane is flying itself right now. The autopilot is maintaining your altitude and heading. That gives us time. You're not falling. The plane is stable. Take a breath. He heard her inhale shakily. Exhale. Inhale again. Okay, she said. Okay. What do I do now? Now I need you to tell me what the instruments say. Look at the altimeter. It's a round gauge with numbers. It shows your altitude. What does it say? 12,000 something. The numbers keep moving a little. 12,000 feet. Good. That's a safe altitude. Now look at your heading indicator. It's like a compass. There should be numbers around the edge. What number is at the top? 2, 1, 4, 214. You're heading 214 degrees, that's southwest away from Dallas. We need to turn you around. I'm going to walk you through it step by step. Turn the plane? Diana's voice cracked. I can't turn a plane. I don't know how to. You can. I'm going to show you. Look at the autopilot panel again. There should be a knob with numbers around it labeled HDG or heading. Do you see it? There are so many knobs. Take your time. Look for HDG. I see one that says HDG SEL. Is that it? That's it. That's the heading selector. Right now, it should be set to 240. I need you to turn it slowly, very slowly to the right until it reads 030. That will turn the plane back toward Dallas. What if I turn it too fast? Then the plane will bank too hard and people might fall. But you're not going to turn it too fast because you're going to go slowly and carefully. I'm right here with you. I'm not going anywhere. He heard her take another breath. Then the sound of fingers on a dial. It's moving. The numbers are changing. 220, 230, 250. Good. Keep going. Nice and steady. 280, 300, 320. You're almost there. Slow down a little. 010, 020, 030. It says 030. Stop there. Don't touch it anymore. Did I do it? You just turned an aircraft around. You're heading back to Dallas now. You're doing great, Diana. A sob of relief came through the radio. Oh God. Oh, thank God. But Marcus didn't share her relief. He was looking at the controller who had just handed him a note. Weather moving in. Wind shear warnings. 20 minutes. Diana, Marcus said, keeping his voice calm. I need you to tell me something. Look at the fuel gauges. They should be in the upper center of the panel. 2 gauges, one for left tank and one for right. What do they say? Left tank says 2400. Right tank says 1800. Marcus did the math in his head. And what did they say when you first got in the cockpit? Do you remember? I wasn't looking at them. I was just trying not to panic. That's okay. I need you to watch those numbers for the next 30 seconds and tell me if they change. Silence. Marcus counted the seconds. At 25, Diana's voice came back. The left one went down. It says 380 now. Too fast. Way too fast. That wasn't normal fuel consumption. That was a leak. Diana, we have a new problem. The plane is losing fuel faster than it should. We need to land as soon as possible. What? What do you mean losing fuel? There's probably a leak somewhere in the fuel system. It's not immediately dangerous, but it means we can't take our time. We need to get you on the ground. I can't land a plane. I can't. I told you I don't know how. You turned the plane around. 5 minutes ago, you didn't know how to do that either. You're learning, Diana. You're adapting. And I'm going to teach you everything else you need to know. The controller passed Marcus another note. Runway 18R cleared. 18,000 feet. Maximum margin for error. Diana, listen to me. We're going to bring you in to runway 18R. It's the longest runway at Dallas-Fort Worth. 18,000 feet of concrete. You could land 3 planes end to end and still have room to spare. All you have to do is keep the wings level and follow my instructions. There are 187 people on this plane. What if I kill them all? What if I crash and everyone dies because of me? They're not going to die. Not today. Not on my watch. How can you say that? How can you be so sure? Marcus thought about Maya and Michelle waiting at home, about the promise he'd made, about the father he was trying to be. Because I've landed planes in combat zones with engines on fire, he said. I've brought aircraft down on carrier decks in storms so bad I couldn't see the deck until I was 10 feet above it. I've been flying for 28 years, Diana. I've never lost a plane, and I'm not going to lose this one. Silence. Then, so quietly, he almost missed it. Why are you helping me, after what I did to you? Because those 187 people didn't do anything to me. Because my daughters are waiting for me at home, and I'm going to look them in the eye tonight and tell them their father is someone who saves lives. Because I took an oath to protect and serve, and that oath doesn't have exceptions. I'm sorry. Diana's voice was breaking. I'm so sorry. I looked at you and I saw what I expected to see. I didn't see you. I didn't see who you really were. I know. I've done it before. To other people. I told myself I was just doing my job, but I was wrong. I was so wrong. You were. Can you ever forgive me? Marcus closed his eyes. Thought about the humiliation, the accusations, the phones recording his shame, the way his daughters would feel when they saw the videos that were probably already spreading across the internet. I don't know, he said honestly. But right now, forgiveness isn't what matters. Right now, what matters is getting you and those 187 people on the ground safely. Can you focus on that? Yes. Her voice was steadier now, still scared, but steadier. Yes, I can focus. Good. Then let's begin. Over the next several minutes, Marcus walked Diana through the basics of the approach. He explained the altimeter, the airspeed indicator, the vertical speed indicator. He told her about flaps and landing gear and throttle settings. He made her repeat everything back to him, drilling the information into her fever-addled brain. She was a good student. He had to give her that. Despite the fear, despite the sickness, despite everything, she listened. She followed instructions. She didn't give up. Okay, Marcus said. We're going to start descending. I need you to find the altitude selector on the autopilot panel. It's near the heading selector we used before. I see it. It says ALT. Good. What number is it set to? 12,000. I need you to turn it down to 3,000. Slowly like before. The plane will start descending on its own. Diana turned the dial. Okay. It says 3,000 now. Can you feel the plane descending? Yes. We're going down. Oh God, we're going down. That's supposed to happen. The autopilot is following your command. You're doing exactly what you need to do. My vision's getting worse. Everything's so blurry now. I can barely read the instruments. Marcus looked at the controller, who held up one hand, fingers spread. 5 minutes to landing. Diana, I need you to hang on just a little longer. We're almost there. Can you see the runway yet? I see. I see lights. A lot of lights. But there are so many runways. I don't know which one. Look for the longest one. It'll be almost directly in front of you. There should be a line of lights leading up to it. I think I see it. The big one. That's it. That's runway 18R. That's where we're going to land. It looks so small. It's 200 feet wide and 18,000 feet long. It just looks small because you're still 3 miles away. As you get closer, it'll get bigger. Just keep the nose pointed at those lights. I can do that. I can keep the nose pointed. I know you can. Now we need to slow down. Look at the airspeed indicator round gauge shows numbers like 250, 300. What does it say? 280 something. We need to get that down to about 140 for landing. I'm going to teach you how to use the flaps. They're like brakes for the air. Look at the center console between the two seats. There should be a lever with markings on it. Positions like 1, 5, 15, 25, 40. I see it. It's set to 0. I need you to move it to position 15, pull it toward you, and let it click into place. A clunk came through the radio. Okay, it's at 15. The plane feels different, heavier. That's the flaps deploying. They're slowing you down and helping you maintain lift at lower speeds. What's your airspeed now? It's going down. 260, 250, 240. Good. Now move the flaps to 25. Another clunk. Done. Airspeed is still dropping. 220, 210. We need to get the landing gear down. There's a lever usually on the right side of the center console. It looks like a small wheel. When you pull it down, you'll hear a loud noise and feel the plane shake. Don't panic, that's normal. I see it. Should I pull it now? Yes. Pull it down until it clicks into place. Diana pulled the lever. The sound of the landing gear deploying roared through the radio, a mechanical thunder that made even Marcus flinch. Oh God, what was that? That was the wheels coming down. You just deployed the landing gear. You're configured for landing now, Diana. You're almost there. The airspeed says 180. Is that too fast? A little. Move the flaps to 40, the last position. Okay. It's at 40 now. Airspeed is 160. 150. Perfect. Now listen carefully. In about 2 minutes, we're going to disconnect the autopilot. When that happens, you'll be flying the plane manually. Every movement you make on the control yoke will move the aircraft. Pull back, the nose goes up. Push forward, it goes down. Turn left, the plane turns left. Turn right, it turns right. But every movement should be small and gentle. Don't jerk the controls. Don't overcorrect. Can you remember that? Small and gentle. Don't overcorrect. I can remember. Good. What's your altitude now? It says 2,000 feet. And the runway, can you still see it? Yes, it's bigger now. I can see the numbers on it. 18R. You're doing incredible, Diana. You're about to land an airplane. Are you ready? A pause. Then her voice barely above a whisper. I'm ready. Put your hands on the control yoke. Feel how it moves. The autopilot is still flying, but you can feel the inputs. I feel it. It's moving a little, back and forth. That's the autopilot making small corrections to keep you on course. When I tell you to disconnect, you're going to take over those corrections. You're going to become the autopilot. Do you understand? I understand. 1 mile from the runway. Diana, I need you to find the autopilot disconnect button. It's on the control yoke, usually under your thumb, a red button. I feel it. Don't press it yet. I'm going to count you down. On 0, you press that button and you start flying. Ready? No. Her voice shook. But do it anyway. 3, 2, 1. Disconnect. A click. Then a gasp. Oh God. Oh God, it's all me. The yoke is heavy. It's pulling to the right. Correct to the left. Gently. Just a little pressure. It's not enough. We're turning. A little more pressure. Don't pull. Just push the yoke slightly to the left. Okay. Okay, it's straightening out. I'm level. Good. Now keep the nose pointed at the runway. You're half a mile out. Do you see the threshold? The white stripes at the beginning. I see them. That's your target. Fly to those stripes. When you cross them, you'll be 20 feet above the runway. That's when we flare, when we pull back and let the wheels touch down. 20 feet, then pull back. Okay. Quarter mile. You're doing perfectly, Diana. Just hold it steady. The controller next to Marcus had his hands pressed together like he was praying. Every screen in the tower was showing Flight 2186's approach. Every emergency vehicle at DFW was lined up along runway 18R, lights flashing. 187 lives. All depending on a flight attendant who had never touched a control yoke before today. All depending on Marcus Thompson's voice in her ear. You're over the threshold, Marcus said. Throttles back. Pull the power to idle. Where's the throttle? Center console. 2 big levers. Pull them back toward you. A rustling sound. Then the engine note changed, the roar dropping to a whisper. The plane's dropping. We're falling. That's supposed to happen. You're settling onto the runway. 10 feet. Now flare. Pull back on the yoke. Pull back. Diana pulled, and everything went wrong. She pulled too hard. Marcus knew it the instant the words left his mouth. He could hear it in the sudden silence on the radio, the sharp intake of breath, the way the engine note changed from a whisper to something higher, something wrong. Diana, what's happening? We're going up. The nose is pointing at the sky. The plane had ballooned. Instead of settling onto the runway, it had pitched upward, trading speed for altitude, climbing back into the air on wings that were configured for landing, not flying. Push forward, Marcus commanded. Push the yoke forward, level the nose. I'm pushing. It's not. Harder. Push harder. The nose dropped. Too fast. Too far. Now the plane was diving toward the runway at an angle that would shatter the landing gear and send 187 people cartwheeling down 18,000 feet of concrete in a ball of fire. Pull back, gently, gently. I don't know what gently means anymore. Just ease the yoke toward you. Don't yank it. Ease it. The radio filled with sounds that Marcus would remember for the rest of his life. Screaming from the cabin. The roar of wind over control surfaces that were fighting against physics. Diana's ragged breathing as she fought to control an aircraft that wanted to kill everyone on board. And then impact. The landing gear hit the runway with a force that Marcus felt in his bones even from 6 miles away. The sound that came through the radio was metal and rubber, and the screams of passengers who thought they were about to die. Overhead, bins exploded open, showering the cabin with luggage. Oxygen masks dropped from the ceiling. A flight attendant in the back was thrown against the bulkhead hard enough to break her arm. But the plane bounced. It didn't stay down. The impact was so hard that the aircraft launched back into the air 20 feet above the runway, wobbling like a wounded bird. Diana, stay with it. We're flying again. I don't know what to do. You're going to touch down again. Don't fight it. Let the plane settle. Keep the wings level. How do I keep the wings level? Look at the horizon, the line where the ground meets the sky. Keep that line straight across your windshield. If one wing drops, correct with the yoke. Gently, always gently. I see it. I see the line. It's tilted. Which way? Left side is low. Push the yoke slightly to the right, just a little. Okay. Okay, it's straightening. The plane was descending again slower this time, the energy of the bounce bleeding away. Marcus watched the radar screen, saw the blip that represented 187 souls settling back toward the runway. You're 10 feet up, he said. 5 feet. Diana, when you touch down this time, don't pull back. Just hold the yoke steady. Let the wheels touch on their own. What if I bounce again? You won't. You're going slower now. Just hold steady. I'm holding. Contact. The second impact was harder than any normal landing, but the plane stayed down. The wheels grabbed the concrete and held. The aircraft was rolling, still going over 100 miles per hour, eating up runway at a terrifying rate. Brakes, Marcus shouted. Top of the rudder pedals, push the tops with your feet. I'm pushing. The plane lurched. Tires screamed. The smell of burning rubber filled the cabin, seeping through the ventilation system that had poisoned everyone on board. Not so hard. You'll blow the tires. Steady pressure. There's so much runway behind us. We're running out. You're not running out. You have plenty of room. Ease off the brakes just a little. I can't ease off. We're going too fast. Diana, listen to me. I need you to trust me one more time. Ease off the brakes and let the plane slow down on its own. You have the room. I promise you have the room. A sob came through the radio. Then the sound of brakes releasing slightly. The violent shuddering eased. The plane was still rolling fast, but it was decelerating steadily now, the end of the runway growing larger in the windshield, but not as fast as before. Reverse thrust, Marcus said. The throttle levers pull them up and back. There's a detent you have to get past, then pull them all the way back. I don't know what a detent is. It's a little bump in the lever travel. Pull up first, then back. You'll feel it click. Diana fumbled with the throttles. Marcus heard her cursing words he wouldn't have expected from her, and then a mechanical clunk. I got it. They're moving back. The roar of engines in reverse filled the radio. The plane shook violently, as thrust that was meant to push it forward now fought to slow it down. Passengers who had been screaming fell silent, too terrified or too exhausted to make any more sound. Airspeed? Marcus asked. 60-something. 50. It's dropping. You're almost there. Keep the reverse thrust in until you're below 30. 40, 35, 30. Now bring the throttles back to idle. Just let them come forward to the center position. The engine roar faded. The plane was rolling slowly now, almost walking speed the end of the runway, maybe 2,000 feet ahead. Plenty of room. More than plenty. Diana, you can start braking again. Gentle pressure. Bring it to a stop. She did. The Boeing 737, 200,000 pounds of aluminum and steel and human beings, rolled slower and slower until finally, 3/4 of the way down runway 18R, it came to a complete stop. For a long moment, there was no sound on the frequency except breathing. Then, Diana Crawford's voice broken and wondering, Did I do it? Marcus Thompson closed his eyes. His hands were shaking. His legs felt like water. 28 years of flying, thousands of hours in the air combat missions and carrier landings and every kind of emergency the Navy could throw at him, and he had never, not once, been as scared as he had been in the last 5 minutes. You did it, he said. You landed the plane, Diana. 187 people are alive because of you. The tower erupted. Controllers who had been frozen at their stations suddenly burst into motion, into sound, into celebration. Someone was crying. Someone else was laughing. The lead controller grabbed Marcus's shoulder and squeezed hard enough to hurt. Admiral, you just saved that plane. You talked a flight attendant through an emergency landing. I've never seen anything like it. Marcus shook his head. I didn't save anyone. She did. I just told her what to do. She's the one who did it. On the radio, he could hear Diana sobbing. And behind her sobs, another sound, the sound of passengers realizing they were alive. Crying, praying, calling out to each other. The sound of 187 people who had been given a second chance. "Diana," Marcus said, "I need you to stay in the cockpit for now. Emergency crews are on their way. They're going to take care of everyone. You did your job. Now let them do theirs." "Admiral, Marcus." Her voice was barely a whisper. "I'm sorry. I'm so sorry. For everything." "I know. You saved my life. You saved all of us. After what I did to you, after how I treated you, you saved us anyway. Why, I don't understand. Why would you do that?" Marcus thought about the question. He'd been thinking about it since the moment he heard her voice on the radio, since the moment he realized that the woman who needed his help was the same woman who had humiliated him. "Because you needed help," he said finally, "and I was the only one who could give it. That's the only reason that matters. But I was so horrible to you. I accused you of fraud. I called security. I had you thrown off the plane like a criminal. I looked at you and I saw what I wanted to see, what I expected to see. I didn't see you. I didn't see the man you really are. No, you didn't. How can you not hate me?" Marcus was quiet for a long moment. Outside the tower windows, he could see the emergency vehicles surrounding the aircraft. Fire trucks, ambulances, hazmat teams in their protective suits. The cavalry had arrived. "I don't know if I hate you or not," he said honestly. "I don't know if I'll ever be able to forgive you for what you did. But I know that hate wouldn't have saved those people. Anger wouldn't have landed that plane. If I'd let my feelings about you control my actions, 187 innocent people would be dead right now, and I would have to live with that for the rest of my life. So you just put it aside. Just like that. Not just like that. It was the hardest thing I've ever done. But that's what service means. That's what the uniform means. You put other people before yourself. You do the right thing even when it hurts. Even when every part of you wants to walk away." Diana was crying harder now. "I don't deserve you. None of us deserved you." "Maybe not. But those people didn't deserve to die either. And that's what matters." Through the radio, Marcus heard new sounds. The cabin door opening. Voices shouting commands. The organized chaos of an emergency evacuation. "They're here," Diana said. "The emergency crews. They're telling me I have to leave the cockpit. Go with them. Let them take care of you. You're going to be okay." "Will I ever see you again?" Marcus didn't answer. He didn't know the answer. "Diana," he said instead, "the things you did to me, you've done them to other people too. I'm not the first black person you've profiled. I'm not the first person you've accused without evidence. Not the first person you've humiliated because they didn't look like they belonged in first class." Silence on the radio. "I know," she whispered. "This has to stop. Today has to be the day it stops. Not because you got caught. Not because you almost died. Because it's wrong. Because every time you do it, you're hurting real people. People with families. People with dreams. People who deserve the same dignity you'd give anyone else." I know. "Then prove it. When you get out of that hospital when this is all over, prove that today meant something. Prove that you're different. That's the only forgiveness that matters, the kind you earn." The radio went silent. Diana was gone, carried away by EMTs to join the other passengers being evacuated, treated, saved. Marcus set down the headset. His hands were still shaking. His whole body was shaking. The adrenaline that had kept him focused for the last 30 minutes was draining away, leaving behind exhaustion so deep it felt like drowning. The lead controller was at his side. "Admiral, there are going to be a lot of people who want to talk to you. FBI, FAA, airline officials, media. This is going to be a big story. I know. You should probably get ready for... I need to make a phone call first." Marcus pulled out his cell phone. His fingers trembled as he found the contact, his mother's number. The phone rang twice before she picked up. "Marcus, honey, are you okay? We saw the news. They're saying there was an emergency landing at Dallas, and your flight—" "Mom," his voice cracked. "Mom, I'm okay. I wasn't on that plane." "What? But you said—" "I know. Something happened. I got taken off the flight before it took off. I'll explain everything when I get home. But Mom, I need you to put the girls on. I need to hear their voices." A rustle. Then, Daddy, Maya, his little girl, his reason for everything. "Hey, baby." "Daddy, Grandma's crying." "Why is Grandma crying?" "Because she was worried about me. But I'm okay. I'm safe. I'm going to be on the next flight home." "Are you still coming?" "You promised." Marcus looked out the tower window, at the plane on the runway, at the emergency vehicles and the passengers being carried to ambulances, and the organized chaos of a disaster that had been averted by the narrowest of margins. "I'm still coming, baby. Nothing in this world is going to stop me from being there for your birthday. I promised, remember." "You promised." And Daddy keeps his promises, always. He heard Maya relay the message to her sister, heard Michelle's quiet voice in the background, asking questions. Then Maya was back. "Daddy, Grandma says you're a hero. She says you saved a whole airplane full of people." Marcus closed his eyes. "I just did my job, sweetheart. That's all." "But you're still a hero, right?" He thought about what that word meant. Hero. He'd never felt like one. He'd just done what needed to be done, what anyone with his training would have done. But maybe that was what heroism actually was. Not feeling brave, just acting brave when it mattered. "I don't know, baby. Maybe. But I'll tell you all about it when I get home." "Okay, put your sister on. I want to say happy birthday to both of you." He spent the next 5 minutes talking to his daughters, listening to them describe the decorations, the cake their grandmother had baked, the presents waiting to be opened. Normal things, beautiful things, the sounds of a life worth living. When he hung up, the lead controller was waiting. "Admiral, the media is already gathering outside the terminal. The airline wants to make a statement, and they'd like you there. The FBI has questions about the contamination. They think it was a faulty air circulation valve, but they need to confirm. And the other passengers from your flight, the ones who were removed with you." "I wasn't removed with anyone. I was removed alone." The controller's expression shifted. "Sir?" "The flight attendant, Diana Crawford. She had me removed because she didn't believe I belonged in first class. She accused me of fraud, of impersonating military personnel. She looked at my face and saw what she expected to see." The controller was quiet for a long moment. "I'm sorry, Admiral." "Don't be sorry. Just make sure the truth comes out. All of it. Not just the heroic landing, not just the dramatic rescue. The whole truth. About why I wasn't on that plane. About what Diana Crawford did and why she did it. About what happens to black people in this country every single day when we dare to occupy spaces where we supposedly don't belong." "Yes, sir." "And one more thing." "Sir." Marcus looked at the plane again. At the passengers being loaded into ambulances. At the hazmat crews preparing to investigate the source of the contamination that had nearly killed 187 people. "I want to know how she is, Diana Crawford. I want to know that she made it." The controller nodded and stepped away to make calls. Marcus stood alone at the window, watching the aftermath of a disaster that had been averted through luck training and the choice of one man to save the people who had wronged him. He thought about what his father had told him when he was young, when he first decided to join the Navy. "Son, they're going to look at you and see your skin before they see anything else. That's just how it is. But you can't control what they see. You can only control what you do, and what you do is who you are. What you do is who you are." Today, Marcus Thompson had done something extraordinary. He had saved 187 lives, including the life of a woman who had tried to destroy his dignity. He had put service above self-duty, above anger, humanity above hate. And when his daughters asked him years from now what kind of man their father was, he would be able to tell them this story. Not the story of his humiliation, not the story of his pain, but the story of his choice. The choice to be better than the worst thing anyone had ever done to him. The choice to be the kind of man his daughters could be proud of. The choice to save lives even when those lives belonged to people who didn't deserve his mercy. That was who Marcus Thompson was. That was who he would always be. And no one, not Diana Crawford, not anyone, could ever take that away from him. 2 hours later, Marcus boarded another flight to San Diego. First class again, seat 2B again. The flight attendant who greeted him was a young black woman with warm eyes and a genuine smile. "Admiral Thompson." He looked up, surprised to be recognized. "The whole airport is talking about what you did," she said quietly. "On behalf of everyone who works in this industry, thank you. And on behalf of everyone who's ever been treated the way you were treated today, I'm sorry. And I'm proud of you." Marcus felt something loosen in his chest. Something he hadn't realized had been tight. "Thank you," he said. "That means more than you know." She nodded and moved on to help other passengers. Marcus settled into his seat and closed his eyes. In 3 hours, he would be home. He would hold his daughters in his arms. He would celebrate their birthday. He would tell them that Daddy kept his promise, that Daddy was okay, that nothing in this world could stop him from being there for them. And later, much later, he would tell them the rest. About a woman who had wronged him. About a choice he'd made. About what it meant to be a man of honor in a world that didn't always offer honor in return. But that was for later. For now, he just wanted to go home. The story broke before Marcus even landed in San Diego. His phone had been on airplane mode for the 3-hour flight, but when he turned it on during the descent, the notifications nearly crashed the device. 247 missed calls. Over 1,000 text messages. His inbox had exceeded its storage limit. The first headline he saw was from CNN. Decorated Black Admiral saves plane after being thrown off for racism. The second was from Fox News. Flight attendant removes military hero, then begs him to save her life. The third was from the New York Times. 187 lives saved by man who was humiliated moments before. His phone started ringing. A number he didn't recognize. He declined it. Another call came immediately. Then another. His voicemail was full before he reached the gate. The pilot's voice came over the intercom. "Ladies and gentlemen, I want to make a special announcement. We have a genuine American hero on board today. Rear Admiral Marcus Thompson, who just hours ago talked a flight attendant through an emergency landing and saved 187 lives. Admiral Thompson, on behalf of the entire crew and everyone at American Airlines, thank you." The cabin erupted in applause. Marcus felt his face burn. He wasn't used to this. He didn't want this. He just wanted to see his daughters. When the doors opened, a wall of sound hit him. Media crews packed the gate area. Cameras flashed. Reporters shouted questions. "Admiral Thompson, how does it feel to be a hero?" "Admiral, can you tell us about the flight attendant who removed you?" "Admiral Thompson, what was going through your mind when you heard the plane was in trouble?" He pushed through them without answering. Airport security materialized around him, creating a path through the chaos. Someone pressed a phone into his hand. "Admiral, it's the airline CEO. He needs to speak with you urgently." Marcus kept walking. "Tell him I'll call back." "Sir, he says it's extremely—" "I said I'll call back. Right now I'm going home to my daughters." He broke through the crowd and found his mother waiting by the baggage claim, Maya and Michelle clutching her hands. The girls saw him and broke free, running toward him at full speed. "Daddy!" He dropped to his knees and caught them both, pulling them into his arms so hard it hurt. Maya was crying. Michelle was shaking. His mother was standing behind them with tears streaming down her face. "I told you," Marcus whispered into his daughter's hair. "I told you nothing would stop me. We saw you on TV. Maya said, her voice muffled against his chest. Grandma said you saved a whole plane full of people. Grandma talks too much. Are you really a hero, Daddy? Marcus pulled back and looked at his daughters. 10 years old today, growing up so fast, already losing the baby fat in their cheeks, already developing their mother's sharp intelligence and fierce determination. I don't know about hero, he said. I just did what needed to be done. That's all any of us can do. The lady on TV said you saved the lady who was mean to you, the one who pushed you. Marcus felt his jaw tighten. So they knew. Of course they knew. The whole world knew. Yes, baby. I helped her land the plane. Why? Michelle asked. Her voice was quiet, thoughtful. So much like her mother. She was mean to you. Why did you help her? Marcus thought about how to answer. This was one of those moments, one of those father moments that would stick with his daughters forever, that would shape who they became. Because being good isn't about helping the people who are good to us, he said carefully. Anyone can do that. Being good is about helping people who need help even when they don't deserve it. Even when it's hard. Even when every part of you wants to walk away. That sounds really hard. It is. It's the hardest thing in the world. But it's also the most important. Michelle nodded slowly. Maya just hugged him again. His mother stepped forward and wrapped her arms around all three of them. Let's go home, she said. You can be a hero tomorrow. Tonight, you're just Daddy. The birthday party was small. Just Marcus, his mother, and the girls. They ate cake chocolate with strawberry frosting, the twins' favorite. They opened presents. They watched movies and ate popcorn and pretended the world outside didn't exist. Marcus tried to be present. Tried to focus on his daughter's laughter, their joy, their amazement at each new gift. But his mind kept drifting back to Dallas. To the control tower. To Diana Crawford's voice on the radio. Around 9 o'clock, after the girls had fallen asleep on the couch, his mother sat down beside him in the kitchen. You want to talk about it? Marcus shook his head, then nodded, then shook it again. I don't know what I want, he admitted. I feel like I should be happy. I saved 187 people. I did something good. But all I can think about is how it felt when she put her hand on my chest and pushed. How it felt when she looked at my medals and asked where I bought them. How it felt to walk down that aisle with everyone watching, everyone recording, everyone seeing me get thrown off a plane like I was nobody. His mother was quiet for a long moment. When your father was alive, she said finally. He used to tell me about the things they did to him in the Navy, the names they called him, the promotions he didn't get, the way they'd look right through him like he wasn't there. He never talked about it in front of you kids, but he told me, late at night when he couldn't sleep. I didn't know that. He didn't want you to know. He wanted you to believe the world was better than it was. He thought if he told you the truth you might give up, might decide it wasn't worth fighting for. Was he wrong? Maybe, maybe not. His mother took his hand. But here's what I know. Your father went to his grave believing that the measure of a man isn't how the world treats him. It's how he treats the world back. And today you proved him right. You had every reason to walk away. You had every reason to let that woman fail. But you didn't. You chose to be better. You chose to be the man your father raised you to be. Marcus felt tears burning in his eyes. He blinked them back. I'm so angry, Mom. I'm so angry I can barely breathe sometimes. I've given this country everything. 28 years of service, combat tours, medals. I've bled for this country. And still to people like her, I'm just another black man who doesn't belong in first class. I know, baby. I know. How do you do it? How do you carry that weight every single day and not let it crush you? His mother squeezed his hand. You don't carry it alone. You lean on the people who love you. You remember why you're fighting. And you take it one day at a time, one choice at a time, one moment at a time. That's all any of us can do. Marcus sat with that for a while. The house was quiet. His daughters were sleeping. The world outside was going crazy, but in this moment, there was peace. "What do I do now?" he asked. "The media wants interviews. The airline wants to meet with me. The whole country is watching." "What do you want to do?" "I want to hide. I want to take the girls somewhere far away and never talk about this again." "But," Marcus sighed, "but I know I can't. This is bigger than me now. People are watching. Black people especially. They're watching to see what I do, how I handle this. And I have a chance to say something that matters, to make this mean something." "Then that's what you do. You speak your truth, you tell your story, and you let the world decide what to make of it. Even if it costs me. Especially if it costs you. Because the things that come easy don't change the world. Only the hard things do." The next 3 days were a blur. Marcus gave his first interview to a black journalist named Angela Washington from CBS. She was thorough, respectful, and didn't shy away from the hard questions. "Admiral Thompson, walk me through what happened when you boarded that plane." Marcus told her. All of it. The ticket check, the accusations, the security officers, the humiliation of walking down that aisle while everyone watched, everyone recorded, everyone judged. "And when you heard the plane was in trouble, my first thought was about the passengers, the families, the children. My second thought was that I could help. And my third thought..." He paused. "My third thought was about Diana Crawford, the woman who'd thrown me off. I knew she'd be the one on the radio. I knew she'd need my help." "How did that feel?" "Complicated. I was still angry, still hurt. But those feelings didn't matter in that moment. What mattered was that 187 people were going to die if I didn't act. Some people would say she deserved whatever happened to her, that you had no obligation to help someone who treated you that way. Some people would be wrong." Marcus's voice was firm. "My oath to serve doesn't have exceptions. My commitment to protecting life doesn't come with conditions. If I'd let those people die because I was angry at one woman, I wouldn't be able to live with myself. I wouldn't be able to look my daughters in the eye." "What about Diana Crawford? Have you heard from her?" "Not directly. I know she's in the hospital. I know she's expected to make a full recovery. Beyond that, I don't know much." "Do you want to hear from her?" Marcus was quiet for a long moment. "I don't know. Part of me does. Part of me wants to look her in the eye and ask her why. Why she looked at me and saw a criminal. Why 15 years of doing this to people wasn't enough to make her stop. Why it took nearly dying to wake her up. And the other part? The other part just wants to move on, to focus on my daughters, to live my life without carrying her weight on my shoulders." "Which part is winning?" Marcus almost smiled. "Ask me tomorrow." The interview aired that night and was watched by 47 million people. The next day, the airline issued a public apology. Diana Crawford was terminated. The CEO announced a comprehensive review of their discrimination policies, new training requirements for all crew members, and a settlement offer for Marcus that included a substantial financial component. Marcus rejected the money. "I don't want your settlement," he told the CEO in a private meeting. "I want change, real change, not a press release, not a training video that everyone sleeps through, real meaningful change in how your employees treat black passengers. Admiral Thompson, we're committed to. Show me. Don't tell me. Show me." "What exactly are you asking for?" "I'm asking for transparency. Annual reports on discrimination complaints. Independent oversight of how those complaints are handled. Zero tolerance for repeat offenders. And I want a seat at the table. Not as a token black voice, but as someone with real authority to hold you accountable." The CEO was quiet for a long moment. "That's unprecedented." So was having a flight attendant throw a rear admiral off a plane because she didn't believe black men could afford first class. Unprecedented cuts both ways. The negotiation took 6 hours. In the end, Marcus got almost everything he asked for. Not because the airline had suddenly developed a conscience, but because they knew the alternative was worse. A lawsuit from a decorated military hero with 47 million people watching would have been catastrophic. But Marcus didn't feel victorious. He felt tired. He felt old. He felt the weight of every battle he'd ever fought pressing down on his shoulders. On the fourth day, his phone rang with a number he didn't recognize. He almost didn't answer, but something made him pick up. "Admiral Thompson?" A woman's voice, hoarse, weak, familiar. "Diana?" A long pause. He heard her breathing, heard something that might have been crying. "I wasn't sure you'd answer," she said. "I wasn't sure I would either. I'm out of the hospital. They said the carbon monoxide damage was minor. I'll make a full recovery." "I'm glad. Are you—" Marcus thought about it. "Yes, I am. I didn't want you to die, Diana. I never wanted that." "I know. You proved that." A shaky breath. "I've been watching the interviews, reading the articles. Everyone's calling you a hero. And they're calling me, well, they're calling me what I deserve to be called. Does that surprise you?" "No, I earned it. Every word of it." Marcus waited. He could feel her working up to something, and he wasn't going to make it easy for her. "I need to see you," Diana said finally. "Face to face. I need to apologize properly. I need to look you in the eye and tell you what I should have said the moment you sat down in that seat." "Which is what?" "That you belonged there, that you belonged everywhere. That your medals are real, and your rank is real, and your dignity is real, and I was too blinded by my own prejudice to see any of it." "You could have said that on the phone." "I could have. But it wouldn't mean anything. Words are cheap. I know that better than anyone. I spent 15 years saying all the right things while doing all the wrong things. I need to do this properly. I need to show you that I'm different. That today isn't just another performance." Marcus closed his eyes. He thought about his daughters, about his mother's words, about the kind of man he wanted to be. "Fine," he said. "I'll meet you, but not for you. For me. Because I need to look you in the eye and understand how someone becomes what you were. How someone does what you did over and over and convinces themselves it's okay." "I understand." "And Diana." "Yes. This doesn't mean I forgive you. I don't know if I'll ever be able to forgive you, but I'm willing to listen. That's all I'm offering." "That's more than I deserve." "Yes, it is." They agreed to meet the next day. A neutral location, a small conference room at a hotel in downtown San Diego. Just the two of them. No cameras, no lawyers, no witnesses. Marcus hung up the phone and sat in silence for a long time. His mother found him there an hour later. "You're going to see her, aren't you?" "How did you know?" "Because I know you. You can't let something like this go unfinished. It's not who you are." "Am I making a mistake?" His mother sat down beside him. "Maybe. But the only way to find out is to do it. And whatever happens tomorrow, whatever she says or doesn't say, remember one thing." "What's that?" "You've already won. You saved those people. You told your truth. You forced that airline to change. Whatever happens with Diana Crawford doesn't change any of that. Your victory is already complete. This meeting, it's just for closure. Nothing more." Marcus nodded. His mother was right. She usually was. But as he lay in bed that night staring at the ceiling, he couldn't shake the feeling that tomorrow would change everything. He just didn't know how. The meeting was scheduled for 10 in the morning. Marcus arrived at 9:30. He wanted to be there first. He wanted to be in control. The conference room was small and plain. A table, 4 chairs, a window overlooking the harbor. Marcus sat facing the door and waited. At exactly 10 o'clock, Diana Crawford walked in. She looked different than he remembered. Smaller somehow. The hospital stay had taken weight off her frame. Her face was pale, her eyes shadowed. She moved carefully like someone still recovering from an illness. But it was her eyes that struck him most. The last time he'd seen them, They'd been cold, calculating, certain of their own righteousness. Now they held something else, something that looked like shame. Admiral Thompson. Diana. She didn't sit. She stood there, hands clasped in front of her, like a child waiting to be punished. "I don't know where to start," she said. "Try the beginning." She nodded, took a breath, and began. "I grew up in a small town in Texas, all white. Everyone looked like me, talked like me, thought like me. The first black person I ever met was when I went to college, and by then I already had all these ideas in my head. Ideas I didn't even know were ideas. They felt like facts, like the way the world just was." Marcus didn't respond. He just listened. "When I started working for the airline, I told myself I wasn't racist. I had black coworkers. I served black passengers every day. I was polite to everyone, professional. But somewhere along the line, I started noticing patterns. Or what I thought were patterns. A black man in first class who didn't seem to fit. A black woman with an expensive bag who must have stolen it. These little moments where something didn't feel right, and I'd investigate, and 9 times out of 10, I was wrong, but that 10th time made you feel justified." "Yes." Her voice cracked. "God help me, yes. I told myself I was just doing my job, protecting the airline, protecting the other passengers. I convinced myself that my instincts were good, that my suspicions were reasonable, that the people I was wrong about would understand. Did they? I never asked. I never looked them in the eye afterward. I never thought about what I was doing to them, to their dignity, to their sense of safety." She finally met his gaze. "I never thought about what I was doing to myself either, what I was becoming." "And what were you becoming? A monster." The word came out like a confession. Not the kind of monster you see in movies, not obvious, not dramatic, just ordinary. An ordinary monster who did ordinary cruelties and told herself it was fine because everyone was still smiling when it was over. Marcus leaned back in his chair. 15 years. How many people, Diana? How many black passengers did you profile? How many did you question or humiliate or throw off planes?" "I don't know." Tears were streaming down her face now. "I don't know, and that's the worst part. There were so many that they all blur together. They weren't individuals to me, they were just situations, problems to be managed." "I was a problem to be managed." "Yes." "My medals were suspicious. My first-class ticket was suspicious. My face was suspicious." "Yes." "And if that plane hadn't gotten into trouble, what would have happened? You would have gone home that night and never thought about me again. Just another black man who didn't know his place." Diana closed her eyes. "Yes, that's exactly what would have happened. And I would have done it again the next day and the day after that, and I would have kept doing it until I retired or died, because I never saw the damage I was causing. I never let myself see it." Marcus sat with that for a long moment. The silence stretched between them, thick and heavy. "Why are you telling me this?" he finally asked. "Because you asked. Because you wanted to understand how someone becomes what I was, and because you deserve the truth. The ugly, shameful, inexcusable truth." "What do you want from me, Diana?" "Nothing." She wiped her eyes. "I'm not here to ask for forgiveness. I know I don't deserve it. I'm not here to make myself feel better. There's nothing you could say that would make this okay. I'm here because you gave me my life back, and the least I can do is answer your questions. To stand here and let you see exactly what you were dealing with. To stop hiding behind professionalism and politeness and just be honest about who I was. Who you were, not who you are. I want to believe I'm different now, that nearly dying changed me. But I don't trust myself anymore. I don't trust my instincts. I don't trust my judgment. How do you become a different person when you can't trust anything about yourself?" Marcus didn't have an answer for that. He wasn't sure anyone did. "What are you going to do now?" he asked. I don't know. The airline fired me. My husband he's struggling to look at me. My children saw the news. They know what their mother did. My whole life is in ruins, and I did it to myself. Yes, you did. I deserve this. All of it. I just wish. She trailed off. What? I wish I could go back. I wish I could find all those people I hurt and apologize to them. I wish I could undo the damage I caused, but I can't. That's not how time works. That's not how life works. All I can do is move forward and try to be different. Marcus stood up. Diana flinched like she expected him to leave. But he didn't leave. He walked to the window and looked out at the harbor. My father was in the Navy, he said. He died when I was 23, heart attack. He never got to see me make Admiral, never got to meet my wife, never got to hold his granddaughters. Diana said nothing. But he taught me something before he died, something I've carried with me every day since. He said, "Son, the measure of a man isn't how the world treats him. It's how he treats the world back." Marcus turned to face her. I don't know if I can forgive you, Diana. What you did to me, what you did to all those people, it wasn't a mistake, it was a choice. Thousands of choices made over 15 years. You chose to see us as less than human. You chose to act on your prejudice. You chose cruelty over and over, and you told yourself it was justified. Diana nodded, tears falling freely. But I also know that people can change. I've seen it. I've lived it. And if you're serious, if you really want to be different, then there's work you can do. Hard work. Painful work. The kind of work that never really ends. What kind of work? Start by listening. Not to people like me. We've been shouting for generations and no one heard us. Listen to the people in your own community. The ones who think like you used to think. The ones who do what you used to do. Understand where it comes from. And then speak up. Use your story to help them see what you finally saw. You think that would make a difference? I don't know. But it's better than nothing. And nothing is what happens if you just disappear into your shame and never come back out. Diana wiped her eyes again. I don't know how to do this. I don't know where to start. Start by telling the truth. The whole truth like you told me today. Tell it to everyone who will listen. Tell it until your throat is raw and your eyes are dry and you've said everything there is to say. And then keep telling it because there will always be someone who needs to hear it. She looked at him for a long moment. Why are you helping me after everything I did? Marcus thought about the question. It was the same question she'd asked on the radio when she was fighting to land a plane she didn't know how to fly. The same question he'd been asking himself for days. Because that's who I am, he said finally. Not because you deserve it. Because I deserve to be the kind of man who helps people, even when they don't deserve it. Because my daughters are watching. Because my father is watching. Because the only way to defeat hate is to refuse to become it. He walked to the door, paused, turned back. Don't waste this, Diana. Don't let what happened on that plane be meaningless. Make it count for something. Make your life count for something. That's the only forgiveness that matters, the kind you earn. He left without looking back. 6 months passed. Marcus Thompson retired from active duty on a Tuesday morning in June, surrounded by his family, his colleagues, and a crowd of journalists who had followed his story since that day in Dallas. The ceremony was held at Naval Air Station North Island on the same tarmac where he had launched his first flight 28 years ago. His daughters stood in the front row, wearing matching navy blue dresses their grandmother had sewn by hand. Maya held a small American flag. Michelle held a photograph of their mother so she could be there too. The Secretary of the Navy pinned the Distinguished Service Medal on Marcus's chest, his final decoration, the capstone of a career that had taken him from a scared 18-year-old recruit to one of the most decorated black naval officers in American history. Admiral Thompson, the Secretary said, your service to this nation extends far beyond the cockpit. In your darkest moment, when you had every reason to turn away, you chose to save lives. You showed the world what honor looks like, what duty looks like, what it means to wear this uniform." Marcus accepted the medal with a steady hand and a heart that was anything but steady. When it was his turn to speak, he looked out at the crowd, the admirals and captains, the enlisted men and women, the reporters and photographers. His mother dabbing her eyes with a handkerchief, his daughters watching him with fierce pride. 28 years ago, he began. I stood on this tarmac for the first time. I was terrified. I was certain I didn't belong. There weren't many faces that looked like mine, and the ones that did carried a weight I didn't yet understand, the weight of proving every single day that we had earned our place. He paused, letting the silence settle. I've spent my entire career carrying that weight. Some days it was heavier than others. Some days I wanted to put it down and walk away. But I didn't. Because every time I thought about quitting, I thought about the young black men and women coming up behind me. I thought about what it would mean if I gave up, what message that would send. His eyes found his daughters in the crowd. 6 months ago, I was thrown off an airplane because a flight attendant looked at my face and saw what she expected to see. Not a rear admiral, not a combat veteran, not a father trying to get home to his children. Just a black man who didn't belong in first class. A murmur rippled through the audience. 10 minutes later, that same woman was begging for my help. Both pilots were unconscious. The plane was falling. 187 people were going to die unless someone talked her through an emergency landing. And I had a choice. Marcus gripped the podium. I could have walked away. I could have let my anger win. I could have told myself that she deserved whatever happened to her. But I didn't. Because the Navy taught me something that goes beyond tactics and strategy and flight procedures. The Navy taught me that service means putting others before yourself. Always. Even when it hurts. Even when it costs you. Even when the people you're saving don't deserve your sacrifice. He looked directly at the cameras. To every young black man and woman watching this, you belong. In first class. In the cockpit. In the boardroom. In the White House. In every space where someone tries to make you feel small. Your dignity is not negotiable. Your humanity is not conditional. And you don't have to be a rear admiral for your life to have value. You just have to be yourself fully and unapologetically, and never let anyone tell you that's not enough. The applause that followed lasted 3 full minutes. After the ceremony, Marcus found a quiet moment with his daughters. They sat on a bench overlooking the harbor, watching the ships come and go. "Daddy," Maya asked, "are you sad that you're not in the Navy anymore?" "A little," Marcus admitted. "The Navy was my home for a long time, but I have a new home now, with you and your sister and Grandma. That's the home that matters most." "What are you going to do now?" Michelle asked. Marcus smiled. This was the question he'd been waiting for. "I'm going to start a foundation," he said. "A foundation that helps young people like you learn to fly. Black kids, brown kids, kids from neighborhoods where no one ever told them they could be pilots. I'm going to show them that the sky belongs to everyone." "Can we help?" Maya asked. "I was hoping you'd say that. I need 2 very important assistants. The job doesn't pay anything, but you get unlimited access to the boss." The girls laughed and hugged him, and for a moment the weight of the last 6 months lifted from Marcus's shoulders. But there was still one piece of unfinished business. Diana Crawford had kept her word. In the month since their meeting, she had done everything Marcus had asked, and more. She had given interviews to every major network, telling the ugly truth about her 15 years of discrimination. She had testified before Congress about the need for better anti-bias training in the airline industry. She had donated her entire severance package, nearly $200,000, to civil rights organizations. And she had started speaking, at schools, at churches, at community centers, telling her story to anyone who would listen. The story of a woman who had convinced herself she wasn't racist while doing racist things. The story of how easy it was to be the villain without ever seeing yourself that way. The story of a man who had saved her life even though she didn't deserve it. Marcus followed her progress from a distance through news articles and social media posts. He didn't reach out, neither did she. Their meeting had said everything that needed to be said. But on the morning of his retirement ceremony, a letter arrived at his house. Handwritten, no return address. He recognized the handwriting immediately. Admiral Thompson, I watched your ceremony on television. You looked proud. Your daughters looked beautiful. Your mother looked like she was going to burst with joy. I want you to know that I've done what you asked. I've been telling my truth to anyone who will listen. Some people hate me for it. They say I'm a traitor, that I'm making things worse, that I should just shut up and disappear. Others thank me. They say my story helped them see something they couldn't see before. I don't know if I'm making a difference. I don't know if anything I do will ever balance the scales. But I'm trying. Every day I'm trying. You asked me once if I could change. I still don't know the answer. But I know that I'm different than I was 6 months ago. I see things I didn't see before. I hear things I didn't hear before. I notice when someone looks at a black person with suspicion, and I remember that I used to be the one doing the looking. I'm not asking for forgiveness. I know better than to ask for that. But I want you to know that what you did, not just saving the plane, but meeting with me, talking to me, refusing to give up on me, even when I had given up on myself. It changed something in me. Something fundamental. You showed me that grace is possible, that redemption is possible, that even the worst version of ourselves doesn't have to be the final version. I don't expect to see you again. I don't expect anything from you, but I wanted you to know that your words stayed with me. Make it count for something. That's what you said, and I'm trying. I'll keep trying until the day I die. Thank you for my life. Diana. Marcus read the letter 3 times. Then he folded it carefully and put it in his desk drawer next to the photograph of his wife and the flag that had draped her coffin. He didn't know what to feel. The anger was still there somewhere deep. The hurt. The memory of humiliation that would probably never fully fade. But there was something else too. Something that felt like hope. Maybe Diana Crawford would keep her word. Maybe she would spend the rest of her life fighting the prejudice she had once embodied. Maybe she would change minds, open eyes, save some future black passenger from the humiliation she had inflicted on so many. Or maybe she would fail. Maybe the change wouldn't last. Maybe she would slip back into old patterns, old assumptions, old cruelties. Marcus couldn't control that. He could only control his own choices, his own actions, his own legacy. And that legacy was just beginning. The Thompson Foundation launched 3 months later, on what would have been Marcus's wife's 45th birthday. The ceremony was held at a small airfield outside San Diego, where Marcus had arranged for a dozen young people, all from underserved communities, all dreaming of the sky to take their first flight. Maya and Michelle helped their father hand out the acceptance letters. 12 kids, ages 12 to 17 each, receiving a full scholarship to flight school. By the time they graduated, they would be licensed pilots. By the time they were Marcus's age, they would be commanding aircraft of their own. I remember the first time I saw an airplane up close, Marcus told the gathered families. I was 8 years old. My father took me to an air show, and I watched these jets screaming across the sky, and I thought, that's impossible. People like me don't do that. People like me don't fly. He looked at the young faces watching him. I was wrong. And I spent 28 years proving I was wrong. But I shouldn't have had to prove it. That dream should have been mine from the beginning. That's why we're here today. That's why this foundation exists. Because every child deserves to look at the sky and see possibility. Not barriers, not obstacles. Possibility. After the ceremony, as the kids took their introductory flights with licensed instructors, Marcus stood at the edge of the tarmac and watched. His mother appeared beside him. Your father would be proud, she said. You think so? I know so. He always said you'd do something that mattered, something bigger than yourself. He just didn't know what it would be. Neither did I. Marcus watched a young black girl climb into a Cessna, her face a mixture of terror and excitement. Until 6 months ago, I thought my legacy would be my service record, my medals, my rank. But now I think it's this. These kids. This chance to show them what's possible. That's a better legacy. It's the only one that matters. The first class of Thompson Foundation scholars graduated 2 years later. Marcus pinned their wings on their chests himself one by one, just as his commanding officer had done for him 3 decades before. 12 young pilots. 8 black. 2 Latino, 2 white kids from poor families who had never imagined they could fly. All of them looking at him with the same mixture of pride and disbelief that he remembered feeling on his own graduation day. "You've earned this," he told them. "Not because someone gave it to you, because you worked for it. You fought for it. You refused to let anyone tell you that you couldn't. And now the sky belongs to you, all of it, forever." After the ceremony, as the graduates celebrated with their families, a woman approached Marcus. She was older than he remembered, grayer, thinner, but he recognized her immediately. "Admiral Thompson." "Diana." She didn't try to shake his hand, didn't try to hug him, just stood there 3 feet away, close enough to talk, but far enough to respect the space between them. "I saw the graduation announcement in the paper," she said. "I wanted to see it for myself. I hope that's okay." "It's a public event." "I know, I just—" She trailed off, struggling for words. "I wanted you to know that I've been watching. What you've built here. What you're doing for these kids. It's remarkable. It's necessary." "Yes, it is." Diana looked at the graduates, at their families, at the joy radiating from every face. "I testified again last week. Congressional hearing on airline discrimination. They're finally passing real legislation. Not just guidelines, actual laws with actual consequences. I heard. My testimony helped. At least that's what they told me. I don't know if it's true, but I want to believe it is." She finally met his eyes. "I want to believe that something good came out of the worst thing I ever did." Marcus studied her face. The shame was still there, written in the lines around her eyes, the tension in her shoulders. But there was something else, too. Something that looked like peace. "Are you still speaking?" he asked. "Every week. Schools mostly. I tell them my story. I tell them about you. I tell them that the person you hate today might be the person who saves your life tomorrow, and you'll never know it unless you stop hating long enough to see them as human." Does it help? Sometimes. The kids listen. They ask questions I don't know how to answer. They make me think about things I've never thought about before. Diana paused. One girl asked me if I was sorry because I got caught, or sorry because what I did was wrong. I told her the truth. I told her that for a long time I didn't know the difference, that I had to learn the difference, that some people never learn it at all. What did she say? She said that was sad, not sad for me, sad for all the people I hurt before I learned. Diana's voice cracked. She was right. They stood in silence for a long moment, watching the celebration unfold around them. "I'm not going to tell you that I forgive you," Marcus finally said. "I'm not sure forgiveness is even the right word for what you're asking. What you did to me, to all those people over all those years, it can't be undone. It can't be erased. It's part of your story now, and it always will be." Diana nodded. "I know. But I will tell you this. What you've done since that day, the testimony, the speeches, the work, it matters. It doesn't erase the past, but it might change the future. And that's worth something. Maybe not forgiveness, but something. Thank you. Don't thank me. Thank yourself. You're the one who did the work. You're the one who kept going when it would have been easier to disappear. That's your choice, your legacy. No one gave that to you." Diana wiped her eyes. "Can I ask you something?" "Yes." "If you could go back to that day, to the moment I put my hand on your chest and pushed, would you change anything? Would you fight harder? Would you refuse to leave?" Marcus thought about the question. He had thought about it many times over the past 2 years. Late at night, lying awake, replaying the moment in his mind. "No," he said finally. "I wouldn't change anything." "Why not?" "Because what happened that day led to this day. The foundation, the graduates, the legislation, the conversations that are happening all over this country because people saw my face on the news and heard my story. If I had fought harder, if I had made a scene, it would have been a different story. A story about an angry black man who got into an altercation with a flight attendant. That's not the story I wanted to tell." "So you're glad it happened?" "No, I'm not glad. I'm not grateful. What you did to me was wrong, and I will carry that hurt for the rest of my life. But I've learned that the worst moments can become the foundation for the best moments if you let them. If you choose to build something instead of just burning everything down." Diana nodded slowly. "I understand." "Do you?" "I think so. I'm trying to." "Then keep trying. That's all any of us can do." Marcus turned to leave, but Diana's voice stopped him. "Admiral." He looked back. "Your daughters," she said. "They were at the ceremony. The two girls in the blue dresses." "Yes." "They looked at you like you hung the moon, like you were the greatest man who ever lived." Diana smiled sadly. "They're right. You are." Marcus didn't respond. He just nodded once, turned, and walked toward his family. Maya and Michelle ran to meet him, wrapping their arms around his waist. His mother followed, wiping tears from her eyes for the 100th time that day. "Daddy, who was that lady?" Maya asked. Marcus looked back at Diana, who was walking slowly toward the parking lot alone. "Someone I used to know," he said. "Is she nice?" "She's trying to be." "That's good." Maya took his hand. "Grandma says trying is the most important part. Your grandma is a wise woman." They walked together toward the car, the four of them, Marcus Thompson, and the three women who had given his life meaning. Behind them, the graduates were still celebrating. Above them, a small plane traced a white line across the blue California sky. Marcus watched it climb, watched it catch the sunlight, watched it disappear into the endless blue. He thought about his father, who had dreamed of this day, but never lived to see it. He thought about his wife, who had believed in him when no one else did. He thought about the thousands of hours he had spent in cockpits all over the world, fighting for a country that didn't always fight for him. And he thought about Diana Crawford and the strange path that had led them both to this moment. Hate was easy. Anger was easy. Vengeance was easy. But choosing to save people instead of destroying them, choosing to build instead of burn, choosing to be better than the worst thing anyone had ever done to him, that was the hardest thing Marcus Thompson had ever done. And it was the thing he was proudest of. Not the medals, not the rank, not even the foundation or the graduates or the legislation that bore his fingerprints. The thing he was proudest of was the choice he had made in that control tower 6 years ago, when he picked up the headset and heard Diana Crawford's terrified voice. The choice to save her anyway. The choice to be a man his daughters could be proud of. The choice to prove that the measure of a man isn't how the world treats him, it's how he treats the world back. That was Marcus Thompson's legacy. That was his victory, and nothing, not racism, not humiliation, not the weight of history pressing down on his shoulders, could ever take it away from him. His daughters held his hands as they walked to the car. The sun was setting over San Diego, painting the sky in shades of orange and gold. Somewhere out there, 12 new pilots were dreaming of their futures. Somewhere out there, Diana Crawford was continuing her work. Somewhere out there, the world was changing one choice at a time. And Marcus Thompson, retired, Rear Admiral, single-father American hero, walked into the sunset with his family beside him and peace in his heart. He had kept his promise. He had saved the plane. He had changed the world, and he had done it all without losing his soul. That was enough. That was more than enough. That was everything.